Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Saturday morning practice. Good morning to those of you who are on different platforms, those of you on Insight Timer, on Zoom, on Facebook, and on YouTube. It's been a long 3 weeks. A lot has to happen. There's a lot to talk about, but we have a lot of time to talk about it. So I just want to start by just focusing on a practice. And so, to continue with what we left off 3 weeks ago, we're going to come back to something called pranayama, the practice of breathing, which we will do at the very end. And so, to pair that, we're going to be doing some joint exercise. So, it's basically the same as what we've been doing for the last 3 4 years. The emphasis is a little bit different. The emphasis is that this is a spiritual practice. So it's not just about the body, it's not just about the chi. Ultimately, it's about the mind. So let's just focus on our mind. Let's make sure that our mind is in a good place. And right now, we're using our body. So let's anchor our mind on the very bottom of our spine. Let's walk up that spine slowly, one step at a time, towards the top of the head. As we do that, we want to stretch that spine. Stretch the spine as hard as you can. And then we want to lean back the upper torso until you think you're going to fall off. And then relax. That way, all the weight of your upper torso is on your spine or on your muscle. If you put your weight on the muscle, it generates stress. It puts you in the sympathetic mode. We want to be relaxed. Now I want you to focus on the shoulder. I want you to open the shoulder and then relax the shoulder and then relax it some more. We're going to be doing joint exercise from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder, eventually to the neck and the back. Now let's anchor our mind on the center of a palm. Let's bring up our hands slowly, mindfully, all the way up to shoulder level. Now we're going to focus on the wrists. We're going to do the wrist, turn the wrist one turn at a time. I want you to identify the beginning and the end. In the beginning, I want you to examine your mind, make sure your mind is actually on your wrist. As you turn the wrist, I want you to focus on the change in your wrist. Examine the change in your wrist, see if there's any heat, any sweat, any numbness, any pain. And when you get to the end, I want you to relax, restart from the beginning again, one turn at a time. Keep checking your mind. Keep focusing on the wrist. Your mind want to wander off. That's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. We call that the monkey mind. So just ask your mind to come back. Focus on your wrist. Now we're going to turn the other way. And before you do that, once again, examine your mind. Make sure that your mind is on your wrist. One turn at a time. One turn at a time. One turn at a time. Now we're going to lower our wrist. So before we do that, make sure your mind is also at the center of your arm. Bring it back down the same way you bring it back up. And then now I want you to adjust the spine, open the shoulder, lean back, and then relax. Relax some more. I want you to focus on the center of your palm again. Mind, body together. That's the meaning of yoga. Yoga is an American word. The original word means yuja. It describes the piece of wood that you put in front of the two oxen as they pull the cart. It's used in making sure that as we practice, we synchronize our mind and the body like they're two oxen. So now let's focus our mind on the elbow. We're going to turn the elbow once again. Each turn has a beginning and an end. And in the beginning, you want to make sure that your mind is actually on your elbow. As you turn, you want to make sure that your mind is in examining the change in your elbow. Ask yourself if there's any heat, any sweat, any pain, any tightness, any numbness. And then when you get to the end, remind yourself that you're starting all over again. Every time you start from scratch, start from zero, one turn at a time, one turn at a time, one turn at a time. Now turn it back, one turn at a time, one turn at a time. Keep checking your mind, make sure your mind is on the elbow, on the elbow. Now I want you to lower your hand, so focus on the center of your palm, bring it back down the same way you bring it back up. All right, so what is the change then if we're doing exactly what we've been doing in terms of the exercising? So what has changed? What has changed? So when I started this class 3, 4 years ago, I was thinking that I would use the exercise, the practice of the body as a way of enticing you into understanding that your existence is actually beyond the body. There's more to that. It's just that that's all we focus normally. But there's the body, there's the energy, there's the mind, and then the mind actually goes quite deep. I was thinking that we could use the exercise to introduce you to chi, and from that, introduce you to the mind, and from that, introduce you to the spirit, one step at a time. I thought I had time. We don't have time anymore. The next 4 years or the next 12 years is going to be very difficult for us. So I asked myself, it's time to change the emphasis. It's the time to say that this is actually a spiritual practice. And when you talk about it in spiritual practice, the idea of mindfulness is a little bit different. When you talk about in the spiritual practice, it actually comes in 5 steps. The first one is called faith. The second one is called diligence. And then is mindfulness. And then going forward, the best way is to say it in the Sanskrit, which is samadhi and panya. Samadhi can be translated into concentration, and panya can be translated into wisdom. But the reason why we kept that in the original Sanskrit is that when you get close enough, there's perspective change. Before you get close, words are very powerful. When you get close enough, words are useless. It's all about experiencing. So we kept it in this original Sanskrit form, which is samadhi and panya. But if you want, as a temporary placeholder, it's concentration and wisdom. Turns out that it's much easier to start in the middle, which is mindfulness. Then you understand what is faith, and then what is diligence, and hopefully going forward as well. So I'm going to explain what mindfulness is. In the meantime, we're going to continue to do our exercise. Do a joint exercise from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder. Once again, I want you to come back to the body. I want you to focus, anchor your mind on the very bottom of your spine. I want you to walk up the spine towards the top of the head. I want you to stretch the spine one joint at a time. Stretch it as hard as you can. Then I want you to lean back the upper torso and then relax. I want you to open the shoulder and relax. We're moving from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder. I want you to anchor your mind on the center of your palm. I want you to bring up your hands, crossing your hands. Bring it slowly, gently. Put it in front of you. Put it on top of you. And then I want you to stretch towards the ceiling as hard as you can, locking the elbow. Then I want you to point the center of your palm outward as if you're touching the walls. Open that shoulder. Open that shoulder. Feel the change in your shoulder. Come back again, starting from zero, following the center of your palm. Stretch. Point the hands outside. Come back. Feel the pain in your shoulder. Let go of the pain. Come back and focus on the center of your palm again. Bring it back up. Stretch. Open, feel it, let it go, start from zero, bring it back up, stretch. Point the center of your palm outward as if you're touching the wall. Open the shoulder, feel the shoulder, let go of the feeling, let go of the pain. One more time. Stretch. Open and relax. Now we're going to turn the other way. Open first, stretch, come back down. Open first, stretch, come back down. Open first, stretch, come back down. One last time. Open first, stretch, and then come back down. Now we're going to do from the front to the back. Open the shoulder, stretch the spine, open the shoulder, lean back, and then relax. Focus on the center of your palm. Bring it in front of you together. Bring it on top. Get ready. Open the shoulder. Bring it as far back as you can. Really feel that pain. Let go of the pain. Focus on the center of your palm. Bring it up. Open the shoulder. Feel the pain on your shoulder. Let go of the pain. Come back and anchor your mind on the center of your palm. Nowhere else. Bring it up. Open the shoulder. Feel the pain. Let go of the pain. Come back to the center of your palm. One more time. Open. Feel it. Let it go. Come back to the center of your palm. We're going to do from the back to the front, all the way back. Bring it up. Stretch. Bring it down. All the way back. Bring it up. Come back down. All the way back. Bring it up. Bring it back down. One last time. All the way back. Up. And then bring it back down. So here I use the word mindfulness and anchoring interchangeably, and I'll explain that in a minute. But mindfulness or anchoring differs whether you're moving or you're stationary. So I talk about how to practice like a warrior, a Shambhala warrior. Shambhala warrior practice mindfulness in motion, right? Because he doesn't always sit down. He got work to do, right? He could be running into a battle. He could be riding on a horse. He could be in a chariot. He's always moving. So we need to elevate mindfulness from just sitting to walking, running, doing exercise. And when you are moving, your mindfulness, or what I call anchoring, has to be on your body. I started meditating as soon as I got up this morning. I got out. I try to find my slippers. I anchor my mind on the bottom of my feet. I feel it. I put on my slippers. I walk out. Right? I continue to anchor my mind on the bottom of my feet, the fingers. I have two dogs in the house right now. I'm doing dog sitting. You walk out. You feel the fur. Meditating on that. I started doing breakfast. I never stopped meditating. Okay. But when we go from the dynamic form back to the more standard static form, which is like sitting, standing, lying down, then we need to switch the focus. We now need to anchor our mind on a breath. So once again, I want you to stretch your spine, open the shoulder, lean back, and then relax. I just want you to feel your breath. I feel my breath. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. One breath at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I can feel it. I know I'm breathing out. Now, as we do our exercise, we're going to continue this static form, which is very important, especially now. I don't know about you, but lately, since Tuesday, I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't go back to sleep. This is the problem. I try very hard to meditate on my breath. Okay, I'm improving. Right? So I'm sure if it bothers me, it bothers a lot of you. It's just very hard now, very difficult. This is a dark period. But we gotta. I'll talk about that in a minute. But right now, let's just focus on that. So just focus on your breath, one breath at a time. Okay. All right. So we're gonna continue exercise, but let me talk about why I choose to use the word anchoring when I talk about mindfulness. I told this story before, I'm sure. So I came to the United States in 1971 with my parents and my siblings. And I grew up in Macau, and Macau is a Portuguese colony on one side of the Delta. It's a small town. It used to be a fishing town. Then it became gambling town. It's a place of gambling, opium, prostitution, all that. Of course, we grew up with all that. And in order to come to San Francisco, we have to fly from Hong Kong. And I've been doing that before, but now it's a family, all of us with little belonging that we have. We've got to get onto this boat, which is not small. I mean, it's about 100 people or so, 150 maybe. But it's very slow. This is back in 1971. 50, what? How many years ago? Many years ago. I was 15 years old. It's an overnight trip, right? So we got to Hong Kong, we flew out and all that. And that was in June 1971. That same boat in August 1971 was sunk because there was a typhoon in Hong Kong, in Macau, and in Hong Kong. And they actually got to Hong Kong already, so there were no more passengers. But the sailors, or the company, wanted the sailors to take the ship back to Macau, where it belongs. So they were sailing in the middle of the storm, in the middle of a typhoon. They couldn't even get out to Hong Kong, and then decided that to anchor the ship on this big island. The typhoon came. It was a level 10. It's the worst you can get. And the ship broke anchor. So it drifted away. It sunk. There were like, I would say about 70 sailors on top, on the, maybe some management, whatever. They couldn't find, well, they probably could find one third of the bodies. The two-thirds of the bodies they couldn't find anymore. In the middle of a storm, it doesn't matter what size of the boat. The only way that you can ride out the storm is to throw down your anchor. That's the only way you could ride out. But if you broke the anchor, then there's no hope. I don't want to relitigate what had happened before Tuesday. There's a lot of reason for that. There's a lot of really good people that are doing post-election analysis right now. That's not my focus. My focus is how to go forward. How do we go forward? This is the storm. This is the level 10 typhoon, maybe continuously for next 4 years. And I mean, I'm afraid of opening web pages to see what's going to happen to our country. I'm afraid. How do we ride out that storm? Anchoring. Anchoring. Learn to anchor your mind on your body when you're moving. Learn to anchor your mind on your breath when you're not. Okay? So, Glenn, I hear you. It's very hard to fall back to sleep, right? But on the other hand, it's very important. Remember, I talked about how there's a paper, a study by Western scientists, medical scientists, that draws the correlation between dementia and quality of sleep. And I know that because my father died of dementia and he couldn't sleep at night. That's the beginning. So, for our own health, we need to figure out how to deal with this. Anchoring, right? You can anchor on your mind. I mean, you can anchor on your breath. And in my case, I try to go back to sleep, and I struggle, but then I don't want to disturb my wife. So fortunately, I have two dogs in the house, so I walk out and sleep on the sofa and anchor my mind on my pets. All right, so now we're going to continue. We're going to continue to anchor our mind on a body, and then use that to understand the difference between pain and suffering. Okay, all right, stretch your spine, open the shoulder, lean back, relax. We're going to do this one exercise called the double blade. One blade, two blade. Focus on the left hand. Focus on the right hand, the one that stretch out. Anchor your mind on the center of your palm on the right side. Bring your hand in front of you, making that nice big circle. Put it on the top of your head. Bring as far back as you can, and then get ready to experience that pain. Let go of the pain. Come back and focus now on the left side. Bring the left hand around. Open the shoulder. Feel the pain. Accept that pain. Let go of the pain. On the right side, feel the pain. Accept that pain. Let go of the pain. Sit up straight. Left hand. Feel the pain. Accept that pain. Let go of the pain. Sit up straight. Right hand, two more times. Feel the pain. Accept that pain. Let go of the pain. One last time. Feel the pain. Accept that pain. Let go of the pain. Back to the breathing. Focus on the breath. Start with knowing. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. What's the difference between pain and suffering? I used this example before. Imagine you're in this safe space. You're looking down and you see a lotus pond. You even see the reflection of the moon on the lotus pond. You're in this good place. All of a sudden, someone walked by, threw a rock into your pond. And you know what happens in a lotus pond. Because at the bottom of the pond is mud. And when that rock hits the mud, all of a sudden the mud consumes the pond. The question is, do you follow the rock? Because if you follow the rock, now you're in the middle of the mud. You can't get out. But if you don't follow the pond, you feel that rock, the pain that the person causes. You say to yourself, I feel it, I accept it, but I'm not going to follow it. I am not going to follow it. I'm going to just let it go. And instead, I come back and I just focus on the pond, the surface of the pond, and just let all that mud settle. Now, when you do that, that's called sedimentation. And the Sanskrit word for sedimentation is jhana. Translated into Chinese is chana. Later on, abbreviated into chan. And when it came to Japan, it's called Zen. That's what Zen means, is let it settle. And Burra couldn't say it better. It says, pain is here, suffering is optional. So when you're in the middle of the night, you wake up and your mind is racing and you feel the pain. You feel the pain. The pain is not about the other guy won. That's not the pain. We have elections every 4 years, right? Every once in a while, the other guy will win. Or every once in a while, your guy will win. That should never be the pain. I said, I've been here since 1971. I became a citizen as soon as I can. And the first president that I elected was Ronald Reagan. I remember back then we held our leaders at a very high moral standard. We're relying on the leaders to motivate us to serve the country. I remember it was very important that our candidates had actually had military experience, right? Remember that? That's no more. Anyway, I can go on, but the America that I know is no more. That's pain. But I have to accept it. I have to accept it, right? Because after all, the new guy is popularly elected. On the other hand, not, Hitler was popularly elected too. But in any case, I have to accept it because otherwise it will consume me. All right. Okay, so now we're moving from feeling, feeling the pain, letting go of the pain. That's actually one of the foundation of mindfulness. There are four foundations of mindfulness. This is the one on feeling. Now we're going to the next one, which is more on the breath and understanding that the rising and the dissipation of all events. If you're interested in Zen, or if you're interested in Japanese art, which is actually Chinese art, it's just the way we used to appreciate art back in the Tang Dynasty. I want you to look up the word wabi sabi, WABI SABI, wabi sabi. Wabi describes the art form in terms of its impermanence. So when you see the Japanese garden, they don't build it out of steel and aluminum or ceramic or whatever. They build it out of natural elements because the fact that the natural elements would decay is part of the art form. It's part of the art form. It's a very, very Buddhist approach to art, which is that it reflects who we are, that we cannot be attached to this body because there will come a time when there's no more. We cannot be attached to the past, wishing that it would have turned out differently because there's no more. So wabi is all about impermanence. Like you said, Hitler is no more when he was killed by his general. So that's wabi, impermanence. Sabi is a little bit different. Sabi is about, so one is by attachment, the other one is about aversion. So if you pay attention, the Japanese art is not about perfection, which is not what you think about Japanese culture. You would think that Japanese culture is all about perfection. No, Japanese culture has concentration and dedication, but in the end, it's all about accepting imperfection. Accepting imperfection is the ultimate perfection. It's wabi sabi. So the next step is a little bit of both. A little bit of understanding impermanence and a little bit of understanding attachment and aversion. Before we do the breathing exercise, the sitting meditation, we have to do two more exercise to loosen up our body, to put us into the rest and digest mode. Because the only way you can do the next part is if you're totally relaxed. So we're going to start with some energetic exercise. We call this throwing the fist. So once again, stretch, open, relax, lean back. Focus on the right hand, making a fist. Get ready. Up. Feel the vibration come back to your body. Up. Sit up straight. Down. Sit up straight. Down. Up. Up. Down. Down. One more time. Up. Up. Down. Down. Now two hands. Open the shoulder. One, two, three, four, and five. Now we come back. Focus on the breath. One breath at a time. Let the body settle. Coming back to the parasympathetic. Coming back to the rest and digest. I just want you to stretch your spine, open the shoulder, relax. The next exercise is all about relaxation, but not relaxation in the sense that you just turn off your fight or flight. That's not enough. It's like just turning off the heater. It doesn't cool down the house necessarily. It's about putting yourself back into the rest and digest, particularly the vagus nerve, which starts at the very top of your head, come down to your neck, come down to your back, all the way down to the lower part of your spine, and then now continue into your internals. So this exercise involves the shoulder, the neck, the back, as well as the diaphragm. So there's a breathing element to it. So I want you to stretch your spine, open the shoulder, relax. Now, last time I taught this, right? Last time we do this every other week, but last time I mentioned, I said, if you want to know if this one works, right? Focus, examine your saliva. Because when you're in the fight or flight, the first thing it does is turn off your saliva. There's no saliva. That's why people drink so much water, right? We talk about the importance of hydration. I talk about the importance of self-hydration. The saliva is what it takes to digest your food, okay, as well as your immune system. So I said, now just if you don't trust me, I said when you finish, you would feel the saliva. So the student says after we finished, she said, "Oh, not only do I feel my saliva, I'm yawning now." I said, and I wasn't quick enough to answer it real time, but basically it's the same thing, right? Because when you have too much adrenaline and too much cortisol in your body, um, there's no melatonin, so you will never, your body doesn't feel like it wants to go to sleep. That's why we wake up in the middle of the night these days because we're full of adrenaline, and so all of a sudden there's no melatonin, and your body says, "Well, time to get up." And so in any case, this is all about the vagus nerve, all about the parasympathetic nerve, okay? So stretch, open, relax, and then now I want you to put the thumb in front of your shoulder, roll up the fingers. This is in four steps. The first one, I want you to lift up your elbow, lift up your shoulder, stretch your spine upward as if you're bringing your shoulder to your ears. The next one is about pointing the elbow back. As you do that, you're opening your shoulder, you open as far as you can as if you're squeezing a tennis ball in the back. Then the third one is when you lower your elbow, you completely relax. And finally, you point your elbow forward, you're looking down at the floor, you're bending your neck, your back, and you're closing in your shoulder. Now from here, you lift up your elbow, you stretch your spine upward, you're looking up, it's right in front. As you open the shoulder, you look up 45 degree all the way back. As you bring it down, you look straight ahead again. And then as you point forward, looking down. Now, I want you to hold your eye actually. As you bring up your elbow, I want you to take a in breath, slowly, gently, all the way in. As you come down, I want you to breathe out all the way out until you're totally looking down. Up, breathe in, down, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Two more times. Breathe in, breathe out. One last time. Breathe in, breathe out. Now we're ready to do some sitting meditation. This time we're totally focus on the breath. I want you to check your posture. Divide your body into 7 parts. The first one are the legs. You sit like the bell, like the Liberty Bell. The legs are the pedestal. So if you sit like I do, make sure you put some pillows and blankets if necessary, so you're not lifting up your legs, you're not using any muscle. If you sit on your chair, which is perfectly fine, you make sure the bottom of your feet are touching the ground, not dangling. The second part of your arm, your hands, just rest it, so you're not using muscle. Finally, is the most important part, which is your spine. Again, start at the very bottom of your spine, stretch towards the ceiling, stretch it as hard as you can. And then you lean back. If you sit like a bell, your spine is actually like the clapper inside the bell. So it's as if you're hanging the spine on the ceiling. You lean back so that it's actually neutral. You're not leaning forward. And then relax. Open the shoulder, relax. Focus on your forehead. Lean back your forehead until the ears on top of your shoulder. That way, the weight of your head is on top of your spine. And then you tuck in your chin slightly so the top of the head is on top of the spine, pointing up. We call this one pillar supporting the sky. You're the middle of the universe. The universe is unbound. That means that you are the center. Finally, we get to our eyes. I want you to close your eye, but don't shut it tight. Imagine your eyes like the drape, window drape. So you lower the drape, but relax so you can actually see some light coming through. You don't need to focus on anything. Okay? You're seeing without looking. And then I want you to take the tip of the tongue, put it behind the teeth. Close your mouth. Feel the wetness inside your mouth. Now we're going to start to meditate on the breath. I talk about anchoring. There's a stepping stone. Before we anchor, we're just going to say, I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. At least know your breath. Once you know your breath, I want you now focus your mind on your belly button. Anchor your mind on your belly button. When you know that you're breathing in, I want you to take the belly button and bring it across the room. And when you know that you're breathing out, I want you to take the belly button and bring it all the way back as if you bring it to the lower part of your spine. Breathe in, forward. Notice that you're opening your stomach, lowering the diaphragm. Breathe out, bring it back. You're collapsing the stomach, pushing up the diaphragm. Let's just sit for 3 minutes. This is the start of our meditation technique. It's abdominal breathing. Okay. Now we're going to continue to do a little bit more, but I want to explain the health benefit, right? The health benefit of what we just did. So it gives you a little bit of motivation to not just do it for 3 minutes, but hopefully maybe do it for 7 or 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes or or minutes is only 1% of your day. That's a worthwhile investment. So this abdominal breathing, which is common in all techniques, right? You can see it in Tai Chi, you can see it in yoga, you can see it in Qigong. It's always about the abdominal breathing, moving the stomach. In fact, what you're doing is you're moving the diaphragm, right? That's what you're doing. Is that when you move the stomach and you're moving the diaphragm. The important part of that is that it restores the harmony between your um, your two autonomous systems. So a lot of our illness these days, whether it's physical or mental, um, comes from the fact that we have what is called autonomous disorder, right? So I talk about how we can't go back to sleep, and ultimately that could be a problem causing dementia, is because we got stuck in the fight or flight. We can't quite get back into the rest and digest. So when that happens, is that you create a lot of stress hormone, and you create a lot of cortisol, which is steroid, which is great because it reduces inflammation in your body until it's not. When you have too much, the body develops cortisol resistance, and all of a sudden now there's no way to heal with that inflammation. You lose your self healing power, and that's the problem. And so this technique, to put it quickly, to talk about it quickly, is just that it cycles you back between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. When you breathe in, we call that the yang, and when you breathe out, we call that the yin, right? Now it's interesting what yang and yin mean. Yang just means the sun, and yin means the absence of the sun. That describes how back in the early days when we live in the cave, when we're inside the cave, that's yin, that's away from the sun. The body is actually in parasympathetic, in rest and digest, restoring the self-healing power. And when you're outside the cave, when you're hunting or running away from your predators, then it's yang, and you're in sympathetic, right? And you're shutting down all your immune system. You're shutting down your reproductive system. You're shutting down your digestion, right? And so you can just imagine it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that's the reason why modern people are have all these problems. So just this exercise itself, just breathe in, breathe out, is already very good. All right. So having said that, we're ready to move to the next step. Now, the next step is very interesting. The ancient Chinese, they actually believe that as you breathe in and out, you're massaging the small intestines. The small intestines is 6 times the height of a human being. And because the intestines have a lot of surface area, you're generating some electricity. Our muscles are piezoelectric. So you have all these static electrons in here. And so if you know how to guide the electrons through your body, from your belly all the way to the top of your head and back down, it creates resonance with the universe, and it actually, well, in their explanation, they actually clear the chi channel, and it's very important. Now, let me just talk about this a little bit. Once again, I'm very sensitive to anything that is related to dementia, because I see how my father suffered. I see how my mom and I had to. It was so difficult to care for him. And then I also see the statistics, right? Every 5 people now suffer from some kind of dementia. Um, so it's a very scary thing. And so recently I read a report that says that until now we think that loss of memory, actually dementia is not about the loss of memory. I know that. It's about not connecting your past memory with your short-term memory. So you see a person like my father sees me, he doesn't recognize me as his number one son. He recognizes me as a caregiver, right? Because he can't connect. It's not about loss of memory. It's about the disconnect of memory. But in any case, until now, we think that memory is the first symptom for dementia, but they figured out that it's not. And when I look back, I know that it's hand coordination is the first sign. So I remember my mom's telling me, "Oh, your father, because my father do the dishes. Oh, we lose so many dishes. We're dropping everything. He's dropping everything." So it's really about hand coordination. It's about balance. It's about change of your temperament. It's all about the left brain and the right brain. So the left brain and right brain are connected by a connective tissue, and when that connective tissue inflames, I believe that's the beginning of dementia. And so balance is when you couldn't quite coordinate left brain from the right brain, losing your coordination, your fingers, there's another one. Changing your temperament, the between your logical side and the emotional side, that's another problem. So when I look back to this next technique where we circulate the chi around, I imagine that one of the main benefits is to clear the channel between your left brain and right brain to maintain that integrity. And I believe the Chinese in thousands of years ago, that's how they maintain, you know, their neurological health. So let's try that. All right. So back to the sitting position, stretch, open, lean back, relax, and focus on your breathing. Now, this time, I just want you to feel your breath. You don't need to anchor it on your belly button anymore. Just feel it. Now that you're sensitive to your breath, you notice that when you breathe in, your stomach slightly opens, and when you breathe out, your stomach slightly collapses. Now I want you to start at the very bottom of your spine. Anchor your mind on the bottom of your spine. As you breathe in, I want you to move up the spine until you get to the very top of your head. Stretch your spine as you do that. As you breathe out, I want you to come back from the top of your head to your forehead, to the bridge of your nose, through the tongue, and then all the way back down to the belly button. And as you do that, I want you to lean back and relax. Breathe in, stretch, all the way top of it. Breathe out, come down, relax. Now, the Chinese call this microcosmic orbit. Okay? All right, so let's do that for 3 minutes and then we're going to go to do some floor exercise. All right? Get ready. Breathe in, all the way top to the head. Breathe out, back to the belly button. Breathe in, stretch your spine. Breathe out, relax.
Stop. Sit. Sit, Tiger. Sit. Sit. Go, Tiger. Tiger. Come, Tiger. Come. Come. No, belly, go. Belly. No, belly. Tiger, Tiger, come.
Okay, open your eyes. All right, so my wife just came back with the two dogs that were babysitting, the dog sitting. And so my wife is trying to do multiple things, trying to make sure that they don't bark and making noises, but at the same time trying to prepare breakfast for them. They have different diet, so it's a lot of work, a lot of commotion. I want to tell you a little story. I told you this before. There's a very famous monk. He actually lives in the East Coast. You can find him on YouTube. I forgot his name, but if you want, I can give it to you. He actually was born in the United States of Korean parents. His parents came from Korea. He was born here, and his parents are very anxious about his son getting a good education. So, so he did. He actually eventually got an MBA from Harvard. But instead of pursuing a life in the business world, he decided that his calling is to be a monk. So he worked a few years. He reached out to a very famous monk in Korea. He doesn't speak that much Korean. So he decided he wanted to learn Korean. And he convinced the monk to take him as his disciple. And eventually he flew over to visit this monk. Got to his temple and was surprised that the temple was not in the top of the hill, top of the mountain, were secluded. Instead, it's in the middle of a market with fishmongers and vegetable sellers and whatever, noisy as crazy. So he couldn't help but to ask his master, why you put the temple here? And the master says, if you couldn't, if you could practice Zen meditation here, you can practice it anywhere. So I would appreciate a comment from Kara. Practice for the chaos of the world. The noise and the distractions is actually good for you. This next 4 years or next 12 years of chaos is good for you from a meditation standpoint. I'll talk about that more in the future, okay? All right, so now we're getting ready to do some floor exercise, continue with a practice of meditation and mindfulness in motion. And I'll talk about how important that is. This is one step, is learn to anchor your mind the same way that you learn to anchor your boat in the middle of the storm, all right? But it's important for me to also talk about the other aspect of practice, of a spiritual practice. So tomorrow's Sunday. Tomorrow, I finally get a chance to visit a state prison with Learning Buddhi home. I used to do that every weekend before the pandemic, and so now I don't, and I only do it once a year. So I need to drive about 2.5 hours, 3 hours to the state penitentiary, one of the state penitentiary. We're going to spend a whole day there meditating with the incarcerated individuals. And so whenever I talk about visiting the prison, my wife and other people will ask me, say, so are the guards there? I said, no, there are no guards. So are you behind glass panel? No, there's no glass panel. We're mixed with the inmates. Ooh. And who are these inmates? Well, they're murderers. Some of them, multiple murderers. Wow. How do you protect yourself? Well, you know what? We don't bring anything in. This is exactly what I wear without the microphone. In my pocket is my key to the car, and that's it. So how do we protect ourselves among the inmates? We are the Shambhala warriors, and I'll talk about this myth in a minute. But they're telling that a Shambhala warrior is someone who protects himself with two of the world's most powerful weapons. One is called wisdom, and one is called compassion. So here we talk about wisdom in terms of the 5 steps: faith, dedication, mindfulness, samadhi or concentration, and finally panya or wisdom. So we got that covered, right? But that's only one weapon. That's only one weapon. That's your shield. So what's your spear? The spear is compassion. So as we talk about how we're going to heal ourselves and how we're going to protect ourselves going forward, we're not only going to talk about our wisdom, we're going to need to talk about our compassion. So let me tell you a little story. I'm sure I told this before. So in 1985, I finally graduated with my PhD. I worked 2 years as a scientist in San Diego, and then I got a job as a professor at UCLA in 1987 when I was 31 years old on my birthday. I started working for UCLA as a junior assistant professor in a department that had about 35 professors. This was the Department of Mechanical Engineering, but also include aerospace and nuclear. So it's not a small department. So my first department meeting, I was with all the professors. I was the young guy, young kids in the block. I sat in the back. I shut my mouth. I listened. I hear what they have to say. And they were discussing emission standard. They were talking about how to open up opportunities for the disadvantaged. So I'm here, I'm just listening. I wasn't planning on participating. And all of a sudden, one of the professors says, "Danny, you're a minority. What do you think?" My mouth reacted faster than my brain. And I said, "Well, sir, I am not a minority. I have never been a minority. I'm just underrepresented." If I'm represented and you ask me, I will be giving you an opinion. And since I'm unrepresented, you're asking me for grievance. That didn't help me. But that's how I feel. If you're represented, what you said is an opinion. If you're underrepresented or not represented at all, then it's grievance. There's a difference. When I first came to the United States, 1971, this country had a very narrow representation. Only white people have representation. Only male has representation. It doesn't even matter whether you have a college degree or not, because most of the jobs doesn't require a college degree. My uncle worked for the mail post office. He participated in World War II. He was a veteran. That was one of the benefits. He didn't have a high college education. He had a house and 2 cars. He didn't have to worry about his insurance. He didn't have to worry about his retirement. His son didn't graduate from college, and he had no debt, and he was able to start his family. Now, it's not just the white people that have representation. People of color has representation. Women has representation, and particularly those who have college degree has representation. So in comparison, if you are a uneducated white male or even uneducated Hispanic male, you have no representation, or less than what you thought you should have. And when you have no representation, your vote is that of a grievance. And if you know how to tap into that grievance, by focusing on hate. Then you get their vote. Hate is a currency now. So I don't want you to think about your fellow Americans, those who vote for the other guy, as someone who's evil. They're not. They're not. They're suffering. I remember my mom used to tell me, he says, oh, wow, the vegetables are very expensive these days. I cannot imagine how expensive they are. And I keep telling her, forget it. Just you spend your money. I didn't feel it. I actually did not feel inflation. I mean, I know it exists. I get my insurance policy. I said, wow, I don't want to look at it anymore. It's like double what you used to be. But I just put aside, it's automatic payment. Who cares? Just pay it. But that's not the case for if you're an educated person now. That's not the case. And so if someone were to tap into that grievance, imagine this body, and one day you discover that this body is cancerous, meaning that the body no longer represents you. And you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, I have a cure. Oh, really? That's great. What are you going to do? You said, well, you actually have a choice. You could do that. You can have that cure chemically, or you can have the cure electromagnetically. Yeah, if it's a cure, I'll take it. But what is the cure? The cure is a poison. It would cure you by killing you indiscriminately. You would take that poison, wouldn't you? If it was the only choice. Because at least you have a fighting chance. And that's what happens. It's not that they don't know that Trump was a racist, was a misogynist, was a criminal, and everything else. They know. They're taking poison because they didn't think that they have any other choice. So first, towards our road of recovery and preparing yourself for the difficulties ahead is to have compassion. We'll practice that, okay? All right, so let's get started with our floor exercise. Do a little bit more of joint exercise now. Okay, get ready. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of the knee. 1, 2, 3. Not knee. I don't mean knee. Ankle. 4, 8. But the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now left foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now let's jump to our pranayama, our breathing exercise. But keep in mind that this is a meditation, which means that we need to constantly remind ourselves where to anchor our mind. When we move, we anchor on the body. When we're stationary, we anchor on the breath. Okay, remember that now. All right. And remember how important it is to anchor, huh? Because it's the only way you can ride through the storm. Get ready. Focus on the center of your palm. Bring up your hand. 1. Bring it towards your body. 2. Bring it down. Lower your knee. And then bring it back up. 4. All right. Get ready. Breathe in. 1 and 2. Breathe out. And then relax. Huh? Breathe in. Focus on your center of your palm. Breathe out. And then relax. Breathe in. Breathe out. And then relax. Now, change form. Breathe in. Cross your hand. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Stand up straight. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. breathe out. One last time, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Now, we're going to go from dynamic to static, right? Okay, now keep in mind that this exercise has a lot of health benefit, but we're going to focus on this is spiritual benefit right now, which is that of knowing how to anchor your mind. So we now go from dynamic to static, which means that we're anchoring mind on the breath. All right. So focus on your breathing, one breath at a time. All right. Feel that you're breathing in, feel that you're breathing out. Keep checking to make sure your mind is on your breath, not anywhere else. Continue to learn how to anchor. And this is what how you're gonna sleep at night, and how you're gonna go back to sleep if you wake up in the middle of the night. One breath at a time. Whatever feeling that you have, just accept it and let it go. Come back to the breath. Okay, we're going to continue now to the second form, which is called balloon breathing. So right foot forward, lean back, toes pointing up, bring up your hand, focus on the center of your palm, roll your body forward. So now you're looking at the floor, 45-degree, and the heel is up on the left foot, okay? Back open again, looking at the ceiling. And as you roll forward, you breathe in, close your mouth, and breathe out. Focus on your center of your palm. Anchor your mind on your body. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. One breath at a time. Breathe in and breathe out. Now follow the center of your palm. Lower your hand. Now go from the center of your palm to the bottom of your feet. One step, two step, and now focus on your breathing. One breath at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. One breath at a time. Okay, now the left hand side, get ready. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. One last time, breathe in, breathe out. Lower your hand, come back to the standing position. One more minute. I'm surprised the dogs didn't even bark once. What happened to them? I bet my wife brought them downstairs. Oh, maybe they're somewhere else. I have no idea. One breath at a time, okay? Okay. All right. So now we do the next one called butterfly. Focus on the center of your palm, bring it up, bring it down, lower your knee, bring it back up, follow the center of your palm, lift up your heel until the back of the hand are touching. Come back down, and then bring it back up. Okay, now get ready. As we come down, we breathe in and we breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. One breath at a time. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. One last time. Breathe in and breathe out. Now focus on the center of your palm. Bring it back down. Lower your heel. Back to standing meditation. 1 minute. Focus entirely on your breathing. One breath at a time. Okay. Now to the fourth, which is called the push hand. All right. So we stand with the right foot forward, but we don't need to lean back. Just stand like this. All right. But now we imagine we have a water wheel in front of us, and we bring our hands like we're pulling the water wheel all the way up, all the way down. Lower your body, and then we look straight and push. Okay. Now as we move the water wheel, we breathe in all the way down, and then we breathe out. Now the key to this is you don't think, you just feel. Feel your body. So which means that you don't even look at me. You just completely focus on yourself, and you just feel your hands, feel your breath. Down, right? That's why in the movie Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi would teach the kids say, wax on, wax off. Don't think, just do it, feel it. Wax on, wax off. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One last time, breathe in, breathe out. Back to the standing, 1 minute. Focusing on your breathing. Okay, now left hand side. Get ready. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. In. Out. In. Just feel your body. Feel your hand. Follow the center of your palm. Feel how your fingers are cutting through the air. Feel how the breathing, the air is coming into your body. In. Out. One last time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Back to the standing. This is the last 1 minute standing meditation, okay? All right. Now let's commit to the entire 1 minute, the entire 60-second, completely focusing on our breath, one breath at a time, as if you're putting coins in the piggy bank, one coin at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. I'm going to recommit to the next one. Okay, and then the last one is go up and down. Get very simple. Get ready. Breathe in. Breathe out. Bend your back and then breathe in when you come up. Bend your back and then relax. Okay, second time. Breathe out. Breathe in. Relax. One last time. Breathe out. And breathe in. And relax. Lower your hands. Walk back to your seat. One step at a time. Focus entirely on the bottom of your feet. As you approach your sitting mat, focus on your fingers, and then lower your body. Calibrate your posture. Focus on your breath. When you feel that you're breathing in, start at the bottom of your spine, move up to the top of the head. When you feel that you're breathing out, come back to the belly button. Now we're going to take, I talk about there's 3 steps, right? No, actually we're not doing the third step, but we're doing kind of like the 2.5 step, meaning that I want you to be completely relaxed. And we call this wandering dragon chasing the pearl. Now, if you actually practice technique, after a while, you start to notice that there's something rising in your spine on its own. That's actually the energy that is coming up to your top of the head. That's called a pearl. And your mind is the dragon. So the dragon is chasing the pearl as you go up. But it's a wandering dragon. This is the key. So as you come up the spine, imagine on top of your head there's a cloud. That's the ancestral home of the dragon. So you don't want to stop at the top of the head, but instead you let the dragon be free as if it's returning to its ancestral home. And then when you breathe out, the dragon comes out from the cloud and then descend into your stomach, into the belly button, into your lower abdomen. I want you to imagine that being the dragon's cave. And you let the dragon rest in the cave, don't hurry, until your body breathes up, breathes in again, then you come out from that cave, you go back up again, you go as far as you can into the cloud, completely relax, and then you come back into the belly button, all right? Now, if you do this way, after a while, you feel coolness in your head and warmth in your stomach. It's very funny. Okay. All right. So let's just do that for, how about we just do it for 3 more minutes? Okay. All right. Get ready. Okay. Open your eyes. I wrote back to make sure I read your messages in case you need real-time response and someone says, I understand the next 4 years is going to be tough, but why do you say 12? Remember who's our vice president? Yeah. Okay. In any case, it's interesting that as I practice meditation, as I get myself more and more into Buddha's teaching, I appreciate the Bible more and more. I appreciate the wisdom in the Bible more and more. Okay. And for example, I talk a great deal about how to feel and not to think, right? I talk about a great deal about when the pain comes, you feel it, you accept it, and you let it go without meaning that you don't try to analyze it, because when you do, you the next thing happens is that you either get attached to it or you become averse to it. Neither one is good for you, because it takes pain into suffering. That's what it says in the Bible. In the book of Genesis, after God created the Garden of Eden, after he created, or she created Adam and Eve, in the Bible, it was said that she told Adam and Eve that you can eat all the everything is provided for you. It's just all the trees, all the plants that have fruits, that's for you. All the ones that have grain, that's for the animal. He's basically telling his creations that you're supposed to be vegetarians. That's why the Seventh-day Adventists, they are vegetarians, because that's what it says in the Bible. Then she said, um, but there's one thing you cannot do. You cannot eat from this particular tree. And the tree sometimes is translated into the tree of wisdom, but it's really the tree of knowledge. Basically, in the Bible, it says that keep in mind that this thing here, this brain that you have here, is where the intellects are, but it's a small part of your intelligence. There's the rest of it, which is the spine. And in fact, that's how it works, that when we sense outside world, all the signal goes to the spine before it goes to the head. And your aversion and your attachment is in the head. And so if you consume yourself with that, then the Bible says that you will die, meaning that you will lose your internal life. And so the Buddhist teaching is reversing that to teach you how to feel, but not to make judgment, not to judge, not to get attached, right? It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So we're going to end with our usual serenity prayer. Serenity prayer. Once again, the Bible has wisdom. The Bible talks about God who's looking over us, talks about Jesus who's guiding us, and talks about a Holy Spirit that is comforting us. But if you actually see through those words and see through people's interpretation of those words, then you see that when the Bible talks about God, he's really just talking about energy, positive energy. The source of positive energy comes from a creator. And that positive energy is like the sun always looking over to the planet. We don't see the sun because we turn our back to it, or we cover ourselves with dark cloud. But the sun is always there. That positive energy is always looking upon us. You have to believe that. He says Jesus is guiding us. But what does Jesus stand for? Jesus stands for compassion, loving kindness, forgiveness, empathy. That's the key. He says, love thy neighbor, turn the other cheek. It's all about that. That's what's guiding us. And what's the Holy Spirit? Holy Spirit was what's in that inside of us. We already have it. It's called the wisdom or the panya. Let's close our eyes. See that black cloud on the eyelid. Look beyond the eyelid. Look beyond the black cloud. You see the light? Recognize that light. I recognize that light as my creator, as God, as I know her. She's always looking over me. I'm grateful for her grace. I asked only for more wisdom, more courage. The courage to make this a better world than I find it. The courage to live up to our potential in spite of all the darkness around us. I ask only for the serenity so that I can accept there are things that are beyond my control. Accept the past. Don't relitigate the past. The past is the past. Accept the pain, but let go of the pain. Look ahead wisdom. I ask that I can continue to practice so I can continue to move towards the light. Namaste. Okay? All right, let's keep it up, okay? Let's keep it up. At least we're together. All right? This is from Charlotte. I need to read it so people who are outside of Insight Timer can hear it. It's a very important message. Charlotte says, I am an evangelical Christian, and Jesus' teachings of love and compassion are what guides me through these dark times. It is very difficult to see my fellow Christians turn their back to Jesus' teaching. I come to Insight Timer for comfort and appreciate the wisdom of other belief systems. We are all one. May love and compassion prevail. This session has filled me with such hope, and I have learned so much. Namaste. What does Namaste stand for? What does it mean? What does Nama is the opposite of Rupa. Rupa Nama describes our entire existence. Rupa is everything that is physical. Nama is everything that is metaphysical. And when you remove that first layer, that cloud from Nama, you get to the light. That's a Holy Spirit. Namaste means let my light see your light. Thank you so much. I see your light. I see you next week. Let's keep it up. All right. Maintain your faith, not blind faith, not blind faith. I'll talk about faith next time. Okay. All right. Thank you. OK，我哋星期一見吓。OK，拜拜。